now you want them to be blamed for it. The president, of course, on Tuesday night, invited this woman, Misty DeMurs, to come and sit with the First Lady, amongst his other guests, so he could, in the middle of his speech, point to her to say, and I've invited Misty DeMars, a woman who wrote me a letter from Oak Brook, Illinois, who said she had lost her job and the federal unemployment amount had run out because the Republicans had cut it off. And now Misty stands to lose her house, the house that she and her husband and 2 children live in. We've got to extend federal unemployment benefits for Misty DeMars and millions like her. And America, for the most part, either tuned it out, was unmoved by it, and the journalists in this country basically said, oh, if the president said it, it must be true. But one guy in Illinois wrote about this, and I read the article yesterday, and I thought, you know, surely this woman could find a job somewhere. Misty DeMars can't find it. Run through 37 weeks of unemployment. Surely she could find a job somewhere. What was her education? So I began to do a little poking and a little prodding. She's a graduate of the School of Art Institute of Chicago with a bachelor's degree in visual and critical students / art history, according to her own LinkedIn page. Now, what does that mean? Basically, she went to a private school in Illinois, in Chicago, the Chicago Art History Institute. One article said she worked her way through school. I don't believe a word of it. I don't think so. First of all, the woman doesn't have any history of working. If she's on federal unemployment benefits, it's because she doesn't want to take another job. People that work their way through school immediately go out and get a job so they can work their way back to success, as opposed to have you, the taxpayer, pay your tax money so they can be subsidized rather than become self-supportive. The school that Misty DeMars went to, where she got her worthless art history student critic degree, the cost of this school, according to the School of Art History, the Art History School in Chicago, their own website, if you're planning to be a student for this 120-hour degree, 4-year degree at 30 hours per year, 15 per semester, be prepared to spend $53,545 per year or $212,000 for your 4-year art history degree. So Misty DeMars begins, instead of going to a state school and finding something like a junior college to go apply her craft and learning some functional education or some functional skill like typing, bookkeeping, sales, management, accounting, something that could be used in the business world, she goes to a private school. My guess is, I don't have the information on this, but I would highly suspect she probably borrowed her education and has probably left school with a significant student loan, which is why they couldn't afford to spend more than 5% down on the house that they purchased. She then went to work in a planetarium. She has an art history degree. She went to work in a planetarium where she worked for 7 years and then got laid off. Why'd she get laid off? Because federal funding was cut to the planetarium. The planetarium in Chicago, the federal funding basically pays for the exorbitant salaries of the top leadership of the planetarium, including 9 people that worked there that made a total of $1.7 million in the year 2010. The top guy there, the president of the planetarium, Paul Kappenberger, made $440,000 in 2010 and $403,000 in 2012. Federal funding is what got these people to their level of addiction. What's fascinating is the President of the United States and the Democrats want to restore full funding for the arts, for research, for the Adler Planetarium in Chicago, and then want to extend unemployment benefits so Misty DeMars, who got the art history degree and can't find a job in Chicago, doesn't have to go out and actually work somewhere that she's not qualified to. The problem is she's not qualified to do anything. And the jobs in her area, well, I went online and found them. I went online and found 10 pages of jobs on Monster.com, and the local mall in her area, mere blocks from her house, has 9 job openings today. But it's beneath Misty. She doesn't want to work at any of them, not even part-time to augment her income. She just wants you to continue to mail her a federal unemployment check. The face of unemployment. Lazy people who are addicted to free money that shows up in the mailbox. It's 8:19 and you're listening to the Voice of Texas. 5738, what's your take on this story? The expose we have done some research, Googling and checking around. The president's face of unemployment, Misty DeMars, is found to be, frankly, nothing more than a total freeloader.
Kind of like his face of healthcare.
Yeah.
That was a disaster.
October 21st, I believe, October 17th or 21st, he had the 17 people standing behind him as he talked about health care, and the woman fainted. We got to find out that she was from California. She has diabetes, married, and pregnant, and she fainted because, of her condition. And the president, of course, came to her aid and actually did the only thing Obamacare's ever done to help somebody. he helped her get an aide out there to get her some water. We found out that the woman never bought Obamacare. She only wrote a letter thinking it's really great that it's there, but she stuck with her original plan. She never bought the package. She was back there as a success story for Obamacare. Never bought the insurance.
And now he brings a freeloader who says she can't get a job, Ed, so she's living off our money, our tax dollars, but yet you have a list of not just 10 jobs, 10 pages.
Yeah, not one list, 2. I typed in jobs in Oak Brook, Illinois. Job openings, Oak Brook, Illinois. Oak Brook is a suburb of Chicago. And the first one that popped up was Oak Brook Center. It's a mall. And in the mall, basically oakbrookcenter.com/jobs. You can look at them yourself right there. Here's a listing at the mall of 9 jobs you could get part-time. And when do most mall jobs occur? Evenings, weekends. When my dad and mom were struggling, and they had a couple times where, business deals didn't work out, his in between jobs. My dad had a job at Montgomery Ward's, which was kind of a Sears company. I don't think they're around much anymore. And he worked in the tool department because he knew tools. He loved working in his garage. And he said, I can augment my income and I'll go get a part-time job at Montgomery Ward's. He worked weekends and nights at Montgomery Ward's. I'd get off the school bus at Sharpstown Mall and go find him and say hello and give him a hug and whatever, and then go, head home. That was what I did. That's what my dad did. That's how he managed. It didn't embarrass him. It wasn't beneath my father to go have a part-time job and to see his friends and neighbors and people he knew knowing he had to augment his income. It wasn't beneath him. My mother got a part-time job working at a card shop. The Berry Tree, I think was the name of the place. And she worked, and it was not near her house, and she traveled and would work there and augmented her income and brought a paycheck home. And together, their 2 part-time jobs paid part of the house payment that they couldn't pay otherwise because Dad had lost a job. That's what they did in that generation. In this generation, you go on unemployment, and when the unemployment runs out after you've milked it as long as you can without taking a part-time job, you then start writing poor, pitiful me letters begging the president to extend job benefits, and that's how the president finds out about Misty DeMars, and that's how he flies this woman, this basically professional beggar and freeloader, from Oak Brook, Illinois, to Washington, D.C., to then, be the face of unemployment. And as far as I can tell, I'm the only person in this country that's done any research to find out that this woman, where she got her art history degree, what it costs per year to go there, and what the jobs are that are available in that area, and where she worked before at the Adler Planetarium, and how much the Adler Planetarium pays their top people there. Enormous fortunes per year. I never had a job a guy working in a planetarium, the president of a planetarium, making in 2010 $440,000 a year. Why? Because he probably got government grants, and so the board gave him additional money because he was good at tapping into the federal system. And as soon as the federal money dried up, rather than dismissing the president, who doesn't know anything about astronomy, they cut his salary, a couple of $1,000 and fire Misty DeMars, the girl with the art history degree. This country is so addicted to the federal handouts that we think if the federal handouts stop, We basically need that life stops as we know it. And that people are reluctant. I'll be quite frank about it. You are reluctant to even join this conversation. Because you don't want to be seen as saying the woman should go out and get a part-time job at the mall. We have been desensitized, and the political correctness has so kowtowed us, at some level you, to where you can't call Misty DeMars the freeloading fraud that she is. Because it's sensitive. Well, if you don't do this, and if we don't blow the whistle on this, and if we don't say enough is enough is enough, you then give license to the federal government to continue to expand its geometric progression and to reach into your pocket and taking more and more and more money from your pocket, from your paycheck, that you went out and earned rightfully, but the federal government wants to grab and go give to Misty DeMars so she'll vote for him.
Because she's too lazy to go out and find a job on her own.
Right. The 9 jobs listed at the Oak Brook Center where she could augment her income like my mother and father did when they had financial problems. Like the 10 pages from Monster.com. If you go to Monster.com and type in Oak Brook, Illinois, here comes jobs in Oak Brook, Illinois. 10 full screen pages. One screen page, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got one screen page, if you know what I mean, printed out 4 8.5 by 11 pages. That would be 44 pages, 8.5 by 11 printed job openings in Oak Brook, Illinois, that a woman could go out and begin to apply for and take what you have to take to get the job. And don't get one job, get 2. Let her husband keep the kids at night while she goes and works at the mall. Do like my mom and dad did. Come home beat dog tired after working 2 jobs and combine your second job income paychecks and pay the house note. It was good enough for my mother and father. Yet we have reached this level of entitlement in this country where people like Misty DeMars, who haven't got the God-given sense to go to a school where the degree could get her a job, says it's up to you, the American people, to pay additional taxes so she can then keep the house that she lived in after she lost the job she wasn't qualified to have in the first place. And it isn't worth her time to go down to the mall and take a job that my mother and father took when times got hard for them. If you don't call calf rope or whatever, bull something on this, I will. 281-558-5738. We'll get to your phone calls right after this on the Voice of Texas.